In the heart of Alberta, Canada, a land known for its icy winters, an unforgettable tale unfolded on a winter morning so frigid it seemed to freeze time itself. The temperature plummeted to a bone-chilling -45 degrees Celsius, marking one of the coldest spells in Canadian history. The world outside was eerily still, as if nature itself had paused to brace against the biting cold. Every blade of grass, every tree branch, and even the air seemed encased in a shimmering layer of ice, creating a surreal, almost otherworldly landscape. It was a silence that carried weight, a quiet so profound it felt like the earth was holding its breath. Amidst this frozen tableau, Nathan Brooks woke with a start, his heart pounding as he glanced at the thermometer hanging on his porch. The mercury had dropped to an unimaginable -45 degrees Celsius, a number that sent shivers down his spine despite his years of living through harsh winters. As he stared out the frost-covered window, the sheer intensity of the cold struck him like a physical force. The world outside looked like a scene from a dream, or perhaps a nightmare, where life itself seemed suspended in ice. Little did Nathan know, this day would bring challenges far greater than the weather, testing his courage and compassion in ways he could never have anticipated. As Nathan stood frozen by the window, his breath fogging up the icy glass, a sudden movement outside jolted him back to reality. There, towering against the frosted pane, was a massive grizzly bear leaning heavily on the wooden frame of his cabin. Its shaggy fur, caked with frost, shimmered faintly under the pale morning light, giving it an almost ghostly appearance. For a moment, Nathan's heart seemed to stop, his mind racing between fear and disbelief. But what truly left him stunned was not its size or the glint of ice clinging to its coat. It was the bear's demeanor. Instead of growling or clawing at the door like a wild predator might, the mother bear tapped rhythmically against the glass with deliberate gentleness, as if trying to communicate through the barrier. Her eyes locked onto his, filled with an urgency that pierced through the cold and straight into his soul. It wasn't aggression, it was desperation. Through the frosted glass, Nathan's gaze shifted beyond the mother bear to a heart-wrenching sight that made his stomach churn. Huddled together in the snow were 3 small cubs, their tiny bodies trembling violently against the merciless cold. The smallest of them collapsed suddenly, its frail frame convulsing as if fighting a losing battle with death itself. Each shiver seemed like a desperate cry for help, echoing silently through the frozen expanse. The mother bear turned her massive head toward her struggling cub, her eyes flashing with anguish before she pressed it closer to the window, almost pleadingly. Her actions spoke louder than words. She wasn't just asking for help. She was begging Nathan to save her child's life. The intensity of her gaze pierced him, carrying an unspoken weight of trust and despair. It was as though time froze again, but this time not from the cold. It was from the gravity of the decision looming over him. Nathan's heart thundered in his chest as he stood frozen, locked in an internal battle between fear and compassion. The mother bear's desperate eyes bore into him, her silent plea impossible to ignore. Summoning every ounce of courage, he took a shaky step toward the door, then another, until his trembling hand turned the knob. The icy wind rushed in like a predator, biting at his skin, but he held firm. The mother bear nudged the weakest cub forward, its tiny body limp and lifeless in her massive jaws. As it crossed the threshold, the warmth of the cabin seemed to breathe life back into the fragile creature. It twitched, then let out a faint groan. But the mother bear wasn't done. Her pleading gaze shifted to the 2 remaining cubs outside, their shivering forms barely visible through the swirling snow. Nathan hesitated for a moment, the weight of the decision pressing down on him, but the raw desperation in her eyes shattered his doubt. Slowly, he widened the door. Once inside, the mother bear moved with deliberate care, her massive frame suddenly gentle as she brushed snow from her paws and fur before stepping further into Nathan's home. It was as if she understood the sanctity of his space, her actions radiating an unspoken respect that left Nathan awestruck. She guided her cubs toward the fireplace, where warmth painted a stark contrast to the icy hell outside. With surprising tenderness, she used her snout to nudge a blanket closer, tucking it around them like a seasoned caregiver. Her intelligence shone through every movement, calculated, purposeful, and deeply maternal. For a moment, the cabin felt less like a refuge and more like a sacred bond forming between species. Nathan watched in silence, his heart swelling with a mix of admiration and disbelief at this extraordinary act of trust and dignity. As the storm began to subside, its howling winds softening to a whisper, the mother bear rose with a quiet authority that commanded attention. She nudged her cubs gently, signaling it was time to leave. Each cub, now stronger and steadier, followed her lead, their movements deliberate as they approached the doorway. One by one, they stepped over the threshold with extraordinary care, their paws lifted high as if afraid to leave even the faintest trace of dirt behind. It was a gesture so profoundly respectful that Nathan felt his throat tighten with emotion. The family paused briefly at the edge of the forest, their silhouettes framed by the fading snowstorm. For a moment, the world seemed to hold its breath, as though nature itself recognized the gravity of this farewell. Before disappearing into the snowy forest, the mother bear paused and gently placed her massive paw on Nathan's arm. Her touch was light yet deliberate, carrying the weight of unspoken gratitude. Her eyes, deep pools of emotion, locked onto his with an intensity that made time seem to stand still. For a moment, Nathan felt as though he could see into her soul, a profound connection that transcended words or species. Then, with a solemn bow of her head, she turned to leave, her cubs mimicking her gesture in perfect harmony. One by one, they glanced back at him, their small paws raised in what looked like a final wave of thanks. As the white wilderness swallowed them whole, Nathan stood motionless, his heart swelling with a mix of awe and bittersweet sadness. It was a farewell that would haunt his memory forever. As the snowy forest swallowed the bear family whole, Nathan stood frozen in place, his mind racing to process what had just unfolded. It was as if he'd stepped out of reality and into a fairy tale, a story where the boundaries between human and animal blurred, revealing a shared language of compassion and trust. The mother bear's intelligence and unwavering determination left an indelible mark on his soul. Never had he imagined that such a wild creature could exhibit such profound humanity. Tears welled in his eyes as he realized this encounter had reshaped his understanding of the world. The cold outside still lingered, but inside him burned a newfound belief in the kindness that transcends species and the extraordinary wisdom of nature's most misunderstood creatures. The encounter with the mother bear left Nathan forever changed, a living testament to the power of compassion in its purest form. That freezing morning had proven that even in the harshest conditions, love and empathy could bridge the widest divides, uniting species bound by nothing more than shared vulnerability. The storm outside had mirrored the chaos within him at first, but through an unspoken connection, both man and beast found solace in each other's presence. It was as though the universe itself conspired to remind him, and now, those who hear this story, that kindness knows no boundaries. In the heart of winter's brutality, a miracle unfolded, proving that life's most profound moments often arise when we least expect them, binding us together in ways words can scarcely capture.